Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But DC politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. I'm Kevin Schroeder, your host. I'm here with my co-host, the famous Captain Ed Mehmet.
Welcome, WAVC listeners and YouTube viewers, on this first day of congestion pricing. I hope it doesn't affect you too much.
Did you drive in, Ed?
Someone drove me. Poor
Okay,
guy.
I didn't think you drove. Well, you always had a driver, even through your career, right? Being a boss. So today's guest on Cop Talk is Detective Austin Glickman. Austin is assigned to the Deputy Commissioner of Public Information with the NYPD, and he also is the founder of Law Enforcement Weekend, LEO Weekend. Austin, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So why don't you tell our listeners your background?
Sure. I'll start off by saying that I've always been obsessed with the first responder field ever since I was a little kid. I used to make my parents drive and follow police cars, fire trucks. So I've always had the interest of working in the law enforcement field, the fire department. And I joined the City of Long Beach Fire Department when I was still in high school, actually, as a volunteer firefighter at the age of 18. Prior to that, had obviously no experience in the field, but just a passion to serve and help others. And I had worked as a volunteer for about 15 years with the City of Long Beach. But then when I went away to college, SUNY Cortland as my alma mater for my undergrad, I noticed that they had a EMS agency on campus, a student-run EMS agency. And I didn't have a car, so I couldn't join the fire department up there. So I figured, well, let me look into this EMS student-run agency. And I'll be honest, at the time, I thought EMS was the Band-Aid box, and I wasn't really interested in doing it. But I went to the first meeting and instantly fell in love. A lot of people there who had very similar ideas and wanting to serve and help their communities. So I became an EMT through SUNY Cortland and ended up rising through the ranks throughout my 4 years there and became the chief of department. It was a phenomenal experience, and being an EMT and working alongside the SUNY cops, because they went to every single emergency that we would go to. And I mean, we're talking about everything from overdoses to rapes to intoxicated students, car accidents, everything in between. That's where I truly learned, or at least got the first understandings of what it would be to become a police officer. At the time, I was getting my undergrad in teaching. I was going to teach and be a high school history teacher. Okay. And being a Jewish boy from Long Island, telling your parents that you were going to become a police officer instead didn't go over so well. They came up for like family weekend, and I remember sitting at a restaurant in Ithaca, New York, and that's where I broke the news to them that I was going to drop the education part of my undergrad, and I only wanted to just get my history degree, and then I wanted to go on and become a police officer. And when I tell you that my mom was going to murder me in the restaurant, I truly thought that. It became a big screaming match for quite a while, and we definitely made a commotion in the restaurant. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't a domestic, but it was getting close to it. And then over the next few weeks and talking to my parents, they eventually just said, it's your life, okay, if that's really what you wanted to do. So I did drop the history, or I dropped the education aspect of my degree, and graduated with history. And then I had taken the NYPD exam, as well as a few other exams, other departments across the Northeast. And I knew I had about 2 to 3 years to kill before I got called. Because at that time, it was about a 4-year wait period to get on with the NYPD. Now it's obviously much shorter. So I had about 2 years to kill. And a buddy of mine through EMS, through SUNY Cortland, said, hey, why don't we go get our master's degree in emergency management? There's a really great school in New York City, Metropolitan College of New York, who has a really innovative emergency management program. Let's go and do it. So I said, all right. And I took out another $50,000 in student loans, and off we went. And I graduated with my master's in emergency management in 2013.
Nice.
Ended up getting a job right off the bat with the Mount Sinai Health System as an emergency manager, and I worked in the hospital system along a few other great guys, and we were the emergency managers for the entire health system. And now they're a huge hospital system all across New York and other parts of the area. And again, that's where I started to learn even more about law enforcement, because we would work alongside the NYPD and the FDNY. They have a lab there, which I don't know if I could really publicly talk about, but they do a lot of testing there with different diseases and biological and chemical weapons. And we have to work very closely with our partners, the FBI, the NYPD, the FDNY. So I got to become close with a lot of the executives in the NYPD that worked in Upper Manhattan. And then in 2014, I got the call to go to the academy, and ecstatic. I remember the day I got the call. I was driving, and I remember the investigator told me to pull over because I obviously can't be on your phone while you're driving. And I pulled over, and she said, in 2 days you start the police academy, and off I went.
Wow. So you didn't think about the fire department? I mean, considering you were a volunteer fireman and EMS.
I took the test.
Okay.
I took the FDNY exam. I think I scored like a 90 or a 95, but at that time it wasn't good enough. Right. I should have went through, looking back on it, maybe I should have went through EMS and then taken the lateral to go to the FDNY fire. But being a police officer was always in my blood, and I knew I was making the right decision.
Yeah.
What you said before about your parents, I had a similar experience. Being Jewish, I had the same thing. My mother said it's a shame to the neighbors, but my father loved it. My father was a taxi cab owner, driver, and he loved the fact that his son was going to become a cop, and my cousin also become a cop. And we both gave him miniature shields, so he had my shield and my cousin's shield. But my mother gave me a very hard time, just like yours did.
Yeah, Jewish mothers. What do you expect?
But getting back...
So Austin, I'm sorry. So Austin, did you grow up in Long Beach, New York?
Born and raised in Long Beach, yeah.
You did, okay. And a lot of firemen and cops out there.
It's fire police land.
Right.
All of South Shore of Nassau County is just like that.
Right. Now, you didn't want to become a Nassau County or Suffolk County cop? It was
took those exams also.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, took those exams. The NYPD was the first to call.
Okay.
Started with the NYPD, and I absolutely loved it. Still do. To this day, I love being an NYPD police officer because, that saying, it's the front row seats to the greatest show on earth?
Yes.
You can't find that anywhere else, any other department.
True.
And I still think to this day, yes, are we getting less pay than those guys? Yeah. But I still think the experience that you get as an NYPD officer, you can't find anywhere else.
Right. Captain?
When did you first enter the New York City Police Department?
July of 2014.
And what was your first assignment?
I worked in the 3-0. So right out of the academy, worked in Manhattan North in the 3-0 precinct.
No NSU?
No NSU. I was the first class out of the academy that did the field training at a precinct in a car, in a sector. Now, we did do foot posts, too, because it was so brand new, no one really knew what was going on. But so a lot of the bosses still put us on foot posts. We worked with NSU, or Impact, as they call it, for about the first 2 years. But some days I was in a car with senior officers, and some days I was on foot.
Well, going to the 3-0, you probably got a lot of experience, like I did. When I left the academy, I went to the 7-9, which was a tough place back then.
Busy house.
So I always said it was good to leave the academy and go to a tough command and learn right away what the job's like.
It wasn't a horrible command. It's surrounded by very busy commands. The 3-0 was almost like the donut hole, but it was a B house, so it's busy enough, but not too busy.
Well, that's the 5th Division of 3-0 precinct. I did NSU 5, 5th Division, which we turned out of the 3-0 precinct, and we worked the 3-4. There was no 3-3 precinct at the time. So we worked the 3-0, the 3-4, the 2-6, and the 2-4, and then they sent us to pressure point at the 2-8 precinct to fill in over there. But actually, back then, 1985 I'm talking about, the hole in the donut, and if you remember this, Captain, the hole in the donut was the 2-6 precinct.
It still is, yeah, 2-6, 3-0, yeah.
3-0 was busy when I was up there, very busy.
The 3-0 used to be known as like the drug capital of Manhattan North because it has so many interactions with the George Washington Bridge, the McCombs Bridge, the West Side Highway. So there's a lot of travel going in and out.
Yes.
But still, compared to the 3-2, the 3-3, the 2-8, it's still relatively, quote unquote, better.
This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When did you get promoted detective?
Got promoted in July of 24, so pretty recently.
Okay, and then where were you assigned at that time?
So from the 3-0, I went to actually the Personnel Bureau, and I worked there for about 2 years. I tore my ACL a week before COVID hit. I got my surgery. So when COVID hit, I ended up going to Personnel, limited duty. I was doing a lot of admin work there, and then I went to the 101 from there. So about 2 years in Personnel, then went to the 101. As a patrol cop, worked in the 101 for about 2 years. And then July of 2024, still on patrol, I ended up getting promoted very unexpectedly. Very grateful for it. Got promoted. And then just most recently got transferred to DCPI.
DCPI. Now, what are you doing DCPI?
So right now I'm assigned to the media relations team. And we work very closely with the media. Working on all breaking news stories, setting up press conferences, giving statements to make sure that we're making sure there's no misinformation being sent out there.
And Cap?
You have this foundation. When did you start it, and why did you start it?
So 2014, I'll take you back in time. Right before I graduated the academy, Officers Liu and Ramos get assassinated in Brooklyn. And that was about 2.5 weeks before I graduated. So the first time that I wore my Class A uniform was actually for their funerals. It wasn't for my graduation at Madison Square Garden. So I go to the funerals, and then we graduate about a week later. In Madison Square Garden, typically graduating class, you have the confetti come down, everyone throws their white gloves in the air. My graduation was a lot different. We didn't do any of that. We actually had both of their photos on the Jumbotron, and we did a final salute to them. And we walked out, very somber. No cheering. It was just odd. And that day, I went home and I said, there's got to be an organization out there that allows cops and their families just to get away for a weekend, to relax, to unwind. There was so much going on at the time in 2014, never knowing it would get even worse, like today, especially in 2020. And I couldn't find anything online, nothing. So I started creating this idea in my head to create this foundation. And as luck would have it, I ended up in Lake George a few weeks later for a little family vacation. And the mayor of Lake George at the time was Bob Blaze. He had been the chief of police in Lake George for many years before or after it got disbanded and taken over by the county sheriff's office. And he was also the longest running mayor in U.S. history. And I asked Mayor Blaze if they ever had a police convention up in Lake George because they had firefighter conventions. He said no. And that was the snowball effect, what now turned into Law Enforcement Officers Weekend. Because of him and some of the local sheriffs up there, they all banded together to help this idea become reality. And in 2017, we launched and had our first ever event in Lake George with about 100 attendees. And since then, we've exploded.
Now, I mean, you also travel throughout the country, right?
Yeah, we travel throughout the country. So
weekend.
The mission of Law Enforcement Officers Weekend is to bring the families of officers that are seriously injured or killed in the line of duty to different weekend getaways, all expenses paid. So a lot of the events that we do are up here in New York, but we also have events down in Miami, in Fort Lauderdale. We do a cruise every year to the Bahamas, and now we're looking to expand even into parts of Texas and potentially Colorado as well over the next few years. So there's a lot going on. We do about 20 events a year. And we even do small local events. We do Rangers games, Yankees, Mets, Islanders. We do car shows and motorcycle rides and anything that we can do to just help bring the spirits up of local law enforcement officers. Because these weekend getaways, although we pay for the families of the fallen and the injured, anyone could come as well. So if you wanted to bring your family as a retired officer, you're more than welcome to join us. We have huge group rates. Everyone gets a great discount. And you're surrounding these families with a lot of love, support, and appreciation that they don't get in other parts of the country. We don't realize how lucky we have it here in New York, New Jersey, parts of Massachusetts, Connecticut. We have really great support systems here. But when you go out to the middle of America, really small departments, and they lose a member in the line of duty or have an officer get seriously injured, they don't know how to deal with it. They don't have cops that are assigned to the family to help them. They're pretty much on their own. So when we fly them out to Miami or we fly them here to New York and they see these major departments doing some really great work and surrounding them with just tons of love and appreciation and support, it's really special.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great concept. It's a great idea. It's awesome. Do you work at all with any other foundations similar to yours, like say Arms Wide Open?
Tons, yeah. So we haven't technically worked with Arms Wide Open in the aspect of like doing an event, but we support them 100%. Merritt Rally is a great guy. We worked with Blue Lives Matter. We worked with Beyond the Badge, with Project Anchor Cop. We worked with organizations across the Northeast. Really, we're always playing as best as we can, nice in the sandbox, because we all have the same mission. Right. So, we really try to work with them.
Yeah, I'm sure you work along with the DEA as well, the PBA, the DEA.
Yeah, the PBA, yes. The DEA, the SBA, the LBA, everyone from every agency. And it's not just NYPD. We work very closely with Nassau, Suffolk,
right.
Port Authority. And then, of course, like I said, agencies from across the country. We've helped 94 families.
Wow.
94 families from 40 different departments, which spans 21 states. And we're just getting started. Yeah. We've been in operation for about 8 years now.
Now, do you have is there a contact person in all these different states, or it's pretty much you?
It's us. I have a board of directors. I'm the president of the organization. Yeah, we have a board of directors. They're all active cops and firemen.
501c3?
Yeah, we're a 501c3. Not a single person on the board takes a paycheck. Every event we do, we pay out of our own pockets to even go. We use our own vacation time to go to all these events. And it's, my vice president, Zach Runther, he says it best. He says, we get paid in smiles. Genesis Familia from the NYPD lost her mom in I believe it was 2017, 2018, right. On July 4th. She was one of our first ever attendees, our second year in Lake George. And she came up to us after the event was over. And I'm not an emotional guy. She came up to me. She gave me this huge hug. And she had tears running down her face. And she looked at me dead in the eyes. And she goes, this is the first time that myself and my two siblings were able to become children again. Ever since my mom passed away, it's just been a whirlwind of emotions. And we haven't smiled, we haven't danced until this weekend. Yeah. And that's what our weekends are all about. Our weekend they're a lot different than a lot of other events. We don't do suit and tie. We don't do, memorial services. We do fun. Mm-hmm. We want you to come to the event in your sandals, in a T-shirt, and for those 3 or 4 days, we want you to enjoy yourself, relax, unwind, do whatever you want. Make it your own vacation, but just know that you're surrounded by other blue families who know, to an extent, exactly what you're going through.
Cap?
Do you get any kind of funding from the outside or any contributions?
Yeah, so the only way we operate is through donations. We host a lot of these events that help gain money for us, but we're always looking for sponsors. And we do fundraisers throughout the year, and that's really how we operate. It takes about, roughly at this point, about $250,000 a year, if not more, to run these events. And if it's not for these sponsors and donors, we wouldn't be able to do it. And 94 families sounds like it's great, which it is, but we lose between 130 to 150 cops every single year. And if it's only 94, there's so many families that are going without this. And I wish there was other organizations out there that provided weekend getaways. There's really not. The Cops Foundation, which is phenomenal, they do a weekend getaway every year for the spouses, and they do a children's retreat. But besides cops, there's really, as far as I'm aware, nobody else that's really doing the extent of weekend getaways like we're doing.
How can listeners and viewers get in touch with you?
So we have a significant social media following. We're on Instagram, Facebook. They could just Google Law Enforcement Officers Weekend or LEO Weekend, which is what typically we go by. I also have my own personal Instagram and TikTok accounts, which has hundreds of thousands of followers, which is Officer Glick. So we're always posting all the upcoming events, and it's great. We just continue to expand year after year, and we've had tens of thousands of attendees throughout the years come to these events. And this year alone, in 2024, we've raised over $1 million for these families.
That's great.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Work.
Even most recently, we had 2 Syracuse officers that were killed in line of duty a few months ago, and they reached out to us. They asked for help. We put on an online fundraiser for them. We raised over $600,000 online, and then we drove up to Syracuse and we held an in-person fundraiser, and we raised $137,000 in one day for them.
It's so true. You said earlier in the conversation is that these small departments, especially down south, they don't have the resources that we do here in New York. We're very fortunate to have that. So it's nice when they reach out and we're able to lend a hand and help them out.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again, and it's very unfortunate. And being from the NYPD, we're so used to the help and the support. Right. So when we dealt with these families, especially in the beginning years, learning that they had no way to be guided, even to this day on social media or via email, we'll get contacted by a spouse or a department or their coworker, and they'll say, "Hey, we're going through this traumatic event. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to seek help." And typically we'll deflect and send them to cops, because they're definitely the expertise when it comes to this. But then there's even areas of the country that's not even they don't fall under a cops organization. So it's an interesting dynamic, and we do the best that we can to help them. But it's sad seeing that I'll give you a quick example. We had an officer in Texas. I won't name the department or the cop's name, but he was shot in the head with a shotgun through a door during I believe it was a domestic he showed up to. And that department wouldn't even buy him a wheelchair. They couldn't even get him a van.
Oh, my God.
And we deal with this on a pretty consistent basis. So aside from just taking these families on weekend vacations, like I said, 94 families. We're actually over 100 families, because there's a few families that we've assisted that we don't put publicly out there. We'll have departments reach out to us asking for something that their department just can't handle or they don't have the funding for, but they'll ask us to keep it private, and we'll help that family in whatever way we can. We've helped purchase wheelchairs. We've helped purchase vehicles. We've helped even build furniture for families who need it. And it's just what we do, because we have a very hard time saying no to people. Right. And plus it's the right thing to do. So
right. That's great.
Yeah. That's
awesome. What is your plan with the NYPD? You'd like to stay a detective, make grade, or you like to become a boss?
I don't know, to be honest. I like where I'm at right now. I'm in a great spot. I work with really great people. I've always had the aspirations of going higher in the department for sure, but I don't know if that would affect me being able to do my duties as the president of the organization as well. So we'll see what happens when the time comes, but making grade as a detective would be phenomenal, but that's probably years in the making. I only got 10 years on, so I still have at least 12 to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even halfway there.
Are you on a 22-year plan?
Yeah, I'm tier plan? 3, or okay, tier 3 enhanced as they call it now, okay. Which is, it's 22 years, okay. And 25 if you want some additional bonuses, but
yes,
yeah, 22 gives you your full pension.
Okay.
If you get promoted, your mother will be proud of you.
She'd be very proud. My parents are exceptionally proud of me now.
Oh, of course.
And I want to make sure I mention that. Yeah. But at the time, 10 years ago, they were not.
10 years ago, they were pissed. Today,
they were pissed. Now they're exceptionally proud. They see me doing all this great work and all. Yeah. And again, everything that I do, it wouldn't be possible without all the volunteers and the board members.
Now, you first generation, there's no one else in your entire family who was ever a law enforcement.
First generation cop, first generation, volunteer firefighter, EMT.
Wow, great.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom said, I come from a family of teachers and social workers.
Okay.
So I was definitely the first cop in the family.
Yeah, wow. Now, let's talk about your podcast. You have a podcast, correct?
Yeah, I do have a podcast.
Tell us about that.
So it's called The Muster Room.
Okay.
We started it back in 2022, and it was very, very successful. We were in the top 10% of all podcasts on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. And then after I got sent back to the 101 in 2023, I didn't have the time really to set up such a extensive podcast. So we took a hiatus for about a year and a half. And now, finally, this coming February, I'm not sure when this is going to get released, but come February, the podcast is going to be up and running again. We have a whole new studio, and we have a ton of guests that are going to be on there. So we're really looking forward to getting it up and running again.
That's great. That's awesome. And how can they listen to your podcast?
Just type in The Muster Room. We're online. We're on social media, Apple, Spotify. It's out there. And the podcast, it's what we do is we kind of break down major incidents, and we get a lot of officers to come on, or not just officers, but firemen, military, who've been injured in the line of duty. We'll even have families of officers that were killed in the line of duty, and we talk about the incident and how they overcame the incident. So it is somewhat triggering to some of the listeners, but it's very interesting just to hear from their perspective the days leading up to the incident and how they overcame it.
Yeah.
Would you tell us again the name of your organization?
Law Enforcement Officers Weekend.
Is that the title of the group?
That's the title of the organization, yep. Law Enforcement Officers Weekend, but everyone calls it Leo Weekend for short, just to make it easier. And you can go to leoweekend.com, and that's where you can find out all the upcoming events, or follow us on social media.
Right. That's awesome. That's a great foundation, organization, and it's great work that you guys are doing. Really, really.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's needed. And if anyone's listening and wants to volunteer, we're always looking for more volunteers. We're always looking for more sponsors.
If any of our listeners wanted to donate to your organization, foundation, how could they do that?
You could just go to leoweekend.com. There's a donate button directly on the website. And even if it's not monetary, you could donate other ways. If we're doing a fundraiser, you could donate a raffle, or you can come and you could assist at the raffle itself. At the fundraiser itself. There's many ways to help out, and it takes an army to be able to do this. Yeah. Although I only have about 6 people that truly are dedicated, we could use as much help as we can get.
Do you have any events coming up?
Yeah, so right now is the low season, but we're now prepping for the busy season, which really starts in April. We're going to be doing a Rangers game, which is the Law Enforcement Appreciation
Big Ranger
night.
fan. When are you doing that?
You got to come.
We'll be there.
It's the night where they always recognize McDonald.
Oh, okay. Oh, Steve McDonald.
The Steve McDonald Award. So we're going to be doing it that night. Typically, in years past, we have anywhere from 500 to 800 attendees come with us, and we do a bunch of pre-game events. We work very closely with the Islanders. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing a Yankees game. We do a huge Mets game. The Mets, I got to give a shout out to the Mets real quick. And let me just preface by saying this.
Go right ahead.
I'm a diehard Yankee fan.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Glad you said that.
Yeah. Born and raised diehard Yankee fan. I only became a Mets fan recently when we started working with them. We had a line of duty death in Nassau County, Artie Lopez, back in 2012. Artie's sister went to school with the VP of ballpark operations for the Mets. I won't say her name because I don't know if she wants me to blast it out there, but they're very, very, very close. So when we held our first event, the Lopez family came and attended with the Mets. And I got to meet the VP. She saw what we did, and she said, if there's anything that we could do to help, we're here. And now I took that opportunity, and we reached out,
absolutely.
and we've been building a phenomenal relationship with them over the years. They are so law enforcement friendly. It's unbelievable. They will say yes to almost anything we ask them. And we just recently had, I think it was like our 5th year with them doing an event, and we had it was like 850 attendees at the Mets game. And we had Stephanie Diller. Jonathan Diller was killed in the 101 back in March. She threw out the first pitch. And we had our whole family. We had the entire community response team out there. That's where he used to work before he passed away. And the 105 precinct, they were all in the outfield to watch her throw out the first pitch. And it was a really special moment. It was her and her baby boy, Ryan. And they threw out the first pitch in front of a sold-out crowd. It was beautiful. The Mets, I got to give them such a shout-out because they're such a phenomenal organization.
Yeah, that's nice they do that. That's really nice, And although we're Yankee fans, and Yankee organizations very well.
The Yankees have some amazing work that they do behind the scenes with like the Silver Shields Foundation that George Steinbrenner started. Yep. So they do a lot. And I know that I believe they send flowers to line of duty funerals throughout the country. They just don't have a huge forward-facing law enforcement appreciation, but their symbol, the NY of the Yankees, is actually originated from the first Medal of Valor that the NYPD used. So there's a lot of NYPD and New York Yankees like cross connections, but it's just, like I said, it's not as forward-facing as the Mets, because the Mets are a more fan-oriented team. The Yankees don't have to be. They've won 27 World Series.
They're the
right?
Yankees.
They're the Yankees, right? They have so much tradition already. So
it's just like, with the New York Rangers, which I'm a big Ranger fan.
Yep.
The New York Islanders and the New Jersey Devils.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers don't have to.
Right.
I mean, the Devils, they go the extra steps, or the Islanders. Not that the Rangers don't do anything. They do some great work with law enforcement and all these other foundations and organizations. However, the Devils and the Islanders, Rangers don't have to.
You know what's great? None of these teams have to, right? We're in the metropolitan area. You're going to have fans show up no matter what. Whether you're 0-50 for the season or you're a championship team, you're going to have fans show up. None of those teams have to do it, but they all do.
True.
And thank you to them, because in a time where a lot of organizations and companies are turning their backs to law enforcement, or they don't want to be associated for political purposes, there's still these companies and teams that still support us. So shout out to all of those teams for doing it.
Absolutely. And even we've had some, celebrities on our show as well, and David Wells, ball player, and Stevie Van Zandt. And the reason why we bring them on is not because they play ball, not because they sing a song, because they're pro-law enforcement. You always hear about, we know who they are out there, who does not support law enforcement and defund the police. They're all full of it. But then there's so many others that support the police, but you don't hear about them.
Right.
And that's why we have them on our show.
Yeah. The pendulum is swinging back, right? If we were looking back at 2020, 2021, when, there were riots occurring across the country, that was probably our lowest point. I don't know if we can go any lower. I hope we don't go any lower. And it seems finally that people are starting to realize that was a bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
Turning your backs on law enforcement was a bad idea. And I don't want to get political, but I think we're swinging back in the appropriate direction. It's still going to take years and years to get back to where we were. Unfortunately, we see time and time again police being disrespected, but I think we're finally slowly getting back to where we need to be.
It's 2025. We're moving forward. So, without a doubt, we have a new president coming in, Donald Trump, pro-law enforcement. He gets it, and he's also a New Yorker. And things will be much better, I believe, anyway.
I certainly hope so.
Anyway, we had a great interview. You're doing God's work. Keep it up. And
thank you.
We hope that the listeners and viewers will respond to you and send in money.
That'd be great. I hope so.
Send in the money, please.
Even if they don't want to send money, even if you want to attend, come. Right. Come to our events.
It's about the cause.
Exactly.
And it's a great cause.
You're getting your bang for your buck, because you're supporting the families of injured and fallen officers, but you're also getting the entertainment aspect of whether you're going on the cruise or you're coming to a local sporting event. You can't go wrong. Right. And we have about 30 or 40 rooms left. If you want to join us in the Bahamas in October of this coming year, 2025, leoweekend.com/cruise.
What's the date again?
It's 10/13. Wasn't planned that way. Okay. It's October 10th to the 13th on Royal Caribbean, right out of, I believe it's Miami.
Oh, out of Miami.
Yeah, right out of Miami. Sometimes Fort Lauderdale, sometimes Miami.
Okay.
We do some pre-cruise events for the days leading up, and then we get on the boat on that Friday. And for the next 3 days, it's a party on the boat, and we're celebrating the lives that we lost, because that's one of the things we do. We do not mourn the loss of the life. We celebrate all their accomplishments. Right. And we just party in their honor. And it's a really fun time. And we're bringing cops and their families from across the country together who would have never been able to do that unless if it wasn't for this event. And we've had families now who get so close with one another that they actually now will travel across country for holidays and spend time with each other. And they never met each other before our event. And it's really cool to be able to do that.
How many guests usually come?
It depends, right? So the cruise last year, we had over 200 on the boat. We were by far the largest group on the boat. But like I said, with the Mets game, we had over 850 attendees. Right. So it does fluctuate.
Right, of course.
But it's usually in the hundreds, and it just grows and grows every year.
Wow, that's great. Cap?
Well, he said it all, and I said it all.
Yeah, I'm a big talker.
Are you a member of the Shalom Society?
Shamram. I'm a member of the Shamram
Did
Society.
I get that right? Shalom? He always yells at me.
I'll tell you a quick
Shamram.
story about Shamram and what happened in Israel on October 8th. So October 8th happens, right? The first people to get killed that day were the policemen in Israel.
It was about 60 of them.
60, yeah. They were the first, I think 59 or 60. They were the first line of defense because the military obviously wasn't there that day. So one of our board members, Dave Davis, he's a local lawyer out on Long Island, and he's like the PBA lawyer for a lot of the departments out there, and even in parts of upstate. His son Samuel, who was only 16 at the time, high school kid, says, hey, Dad, we need to do something. There was, all these people killed in Israel and all these police officers were killed. What can I do? So Dave reached out to me and he said, hey, can the organization help and do a fundraiser for these families? And I said, absolutely. Of course, it's a great idea. So Sam went on this media blitz and he went on all these different talk shows and all these radio shows. And within days raised over $60,000 for these families through our organization. Here's the problem. We quickly learned that getting the money to Israel was an issue. And once we even got it there, it's actually illegal for the government to give money to these families. They're a non-union country, and they have a lot of laws in place where police officers and their families cannot accept money. So we had to reach out to the International Police Association, the IPA, and we reached out to Gal Sharon. She's the president of the IPA in Israel. She's a phenomenal woman. Like, she's the top dog in Israel when it comes to law enforcement. And we got in contact with her, and we reached out to Nassau County Shamram, NYPD Shamram. We all came together. Gail actually came to New York. We met with her in person. We gave them the $60,000. They go to Israel. Dave Davis and Samuel fly to Israel even while this major war is going on. And they held the first ever event where they brought in all these families of law enforcement because, again, it was illegal to even do that. They were not allowed to host an event where they had all these members of law enforcement come together. And some chiefs of police in Israel were actually against it. Even knowing that they were going to bring all this money to help these families, they were still against it. But she did it anyway. She said, if you're going to arrest me, arrest me. They did this event. They gave $60,000 out to all these families, and it was a phenomenal success. And she's amazing. And shout out to everybody that helped make that happen. And it was I'm not a religious person at all. I wasn't even raised religious, but because of that incident, what happened on October 8th, and since then I've become a little bit more in tune with my faith and Judaism. And now I'm hopefully going to fly out to Israel, I think, next year.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to work with IPA to get out there and take a look at what they got going on and see everything,
That'd be cool.
for myself.
Well, maybe you meet my grandson. He's a member of the IDF.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I have some personal friends that are in the IDF as well.
Well, the NYPD used to do trips, right, Cap?
Yeah.
To Israel?
Well, I think they still do,
Yeah.
but I think maybe that was on pause because of what was going on.
Copy.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that was a really special experience, and it's something that it wasn't even my idea. It was a 16-year-old kid. I mean, he deserves all the credit for it. Yeah, phenomenal. And
That's awesome.
we actually, just this past July, at an award ceremony, we actually honored Samuel for what he did for those families.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great stuff. Well, Detective Austin Glickman, I'd like to thank you for spending time with us today. I know you're busy. I know the NYPD is busy, and you got to get back to work, and I appreciate you being here. Cap?
I'm thinking of what more to say.
While he's thinking, I'll move on. So at this time, I'd like to thank Detective Austin Glickman for being here. I'd like to thank everyone for listening today. If you like what you hear on Cop Talk, you could subscribe to Cop Talk at WABC Radio. You could also follow us on X, which is the former Twitter, and that's at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. Until next time, God bless America. God bless you. God bless law enforcement throughout the world, and God bless our military. Stay safe.
And as usual, Kevin forgot to mention YouTube. You're on YouTube.
Hello, everybody on YouTube.
Thank you, Cap. Thank you for listening. Until
Thanks
next
for having
time,
me.
be safe.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.